Hey there, welcome to my channel. In today's episode, this is going to be a continuation of the series that I created and called The Current State of Art. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about fine arts. And what I mean by that is pictures, paintings, the thing that comes to your mind when you think about art, like Mona Lisa, like Van Gogh's Starry Night. That is art to me. Now, in this video, we're going to basically delve into the history of art, how it became as bad as it is today, and the future of it, and the future of humanity regarding this whole, escapade and whole case. So first, let's start with the classification of art. So basically, there is two types of art as far as I understand. One is classic art. Now, whenever you hear the word art, what you imagine would be perhaps something like the Starry Night by Van Gogh or the Mona Lisa, two most famous examples ever. So they are in the category of classic art, okay? And after that, when you think about ridiculous things that you have heard about, art being associated with, for example, a banana staked in a wall in like a, portrait frame and being sold for millions, or people like pouring painting on a canvas and making weird patterns and calling it art and then being, shown in exhibition and shit, or YouTubers, fucking pranksters, literally like making weird ass paintings and selling them on the streets for dollars. That shit is modern art. So the first one is kind of undisputed. Since the beginning of human history, we know what art is. It's a portrayal of ourselves, our daily life, right? Our thoughts and shit, imagination, basically. But then, after like 1940, from which the postmodern period starts, there came this notion of postmodernism that gave us the idea or understanding that we can claim our identity. So if I draw a gibberish painting and call it the best painting ever, it is the best painting. You have to say that this is the best painting because I said so. That's basically the postmodern, destructive thinking as I take it. But we're going to delve into that postmodern thing a bit later, but let's proceed. So I hope you understood the classification of modern and classic art. Now let's try to understand the background behind the classic and the modern art. Classic art is just common sense, right? Like we have cave paintings from thousands of years ago, the earliest signs of human civilization. People drawing themselves with stones on a cave. That's painting, clear. And upon how humanity evolved through the time, we saw the evolution of that cave art itself. Like in those cave arts, you can see people hunting animals or animals themselves, for example, bison or cow or something like that. And afterwards, you can see, pictures that portray those scenes in a different culture, in a different time, but more clearly. And it just got better and better. By the end of 1940s or even before that, you got paintings which were super realistic. And if not realistic, they were really imaginative, really creative, thoughtful, philosophical, deep, all the good words from the dictionary. That was like the prime golden age of classic art, okay? But after that, after World War II, after that fallout of the Great War, there came this time where people as a whole, this is like my thesis and a lot of people also agree with me. At that time, people kind of became disenchanted. Like they didn't have the spirit to continue that classic thing. And, and from there, a lot of thinkers whom we call today postmodern thinkers like Nietzsche, then Albert Camus, then Immanuel Kant, then you have Bertrand Russell, then there is that guy, that pervert, what's his name, Freud, and all of these thinkers like Baudelaire and other, So these people, these pioneers of postmodernism, brought upon an era that preceded the classic way of thinking. Okay, so the classic way of thinking was there is a truth, only one truth, and everyone was kind of like chasing that perfection point. So all the pictures before this inflection point of there being modern and postmodern. So in the modern era, we have pictures there, and they're trying to be perfect. So people in the modern era were chasing the perfectness of anything, their emotion, thoughts. They were really trying to be deep and witty. But after that point, after this advent of postmodernism and this giving up type of thinking, very nihilistic, people started getting into this way of expressing themselves in a chaotic way, and they didn't give a flip about what others thought. And in the later parts of this video, I'm going to just give points why this is good and why this was necessary, this personal freedom thing. But as we see it now, it has brought upon an age where people now have a very skewed perception or very less admiration of art. Just tell me, when was the last time you went to an art exhibition? I think, not so recently, right? Perhaps never. So it is because of the advent of modern art and the culture dying out because of it. Now let's get into the history of modern art itself. So it was around the Cold War era. So after the World War II ended, there was this time where USA and USSR, so now today's Russia, used to be called as Soviet Union or USSR, and USA is always USA. So after the war, they had this race to become the most powerful in the world. Okay, USA was propping up their puppet governments in different countries, and Soviet Union, aka Russia, was also doing that. So there was this race in every single field. There was race in aerospace. America had their NASA. Russia had their own programs to send, astronauts to the space. And Russians were winning before the, moon landing, alleged moon landing by USA. But before that, Russia was winning. Russia was winning in chess. They were winning in aerospace, flying to the space shit. They were winning in a lot of things. They were better spies. KGB was far better than CIA, because CIA was kind of new, but KGB. So at that point, one of the wins that USA had, despite Russia winning in a lot of things, was this art thing, where USA saw Russia promoting these cultural classic arts in their exhibitions, fashion shows and shit. Russia was promoting really classic things. And here America came up with this scheme where they propagated, they propped up these horrible paintings, and they started buying them from their own funds. So those disgusting paintings got a lot of sales and money and fame and attention, and the Russian classic picture market just died down. And that's how they won the Cold War of art. That's the history. You can just literally go and search how CIA invented modern art, because those horrible paintings later was renamed to modern art, because people were visibly upset. They said this is ridiculous. These paintings are not paintings. They're just gibberish, mindless bullshit. But though that postmodern argument came in back there, and it said, well, you cannot say it's bullshit because the artist claims that it's an art piece. Everything is art. You can say otherwise. So shut up. And people did shut up, and since then no one has fucking spoke until I'm speaking. You should speak too. So that's the history. I hope you understood. This video is getting so long. I don't know if anyone listens to it, That's the sad part. I want to tell a lot of things, but it's so sad. But anyways, so we see this clear weaponization of philosophy here, and cultural thinking, especially postmodernism, because postmodernism is something that I really like because it makes a lot of sense in the modern age. But at the same time, like just like with any other good thing, it can also be used for bad things. And in this context, modernism was used as a shield to protect the criticism against modern art, and it is still being used. Like literally, you can go on YouTube and search "modern art is great," and you're gonna find these like white, very like leftist, fucking like I'm not gonna say the G word, but you know what I'm like talking about, right? These guys are defending modern art, and they have their own sets of logic and postmodern arguments. So basically, postmodernism is what's shielding these shitty paintings from us tearing them fucking down. So I hope you get that. And the sad thing about this Cold War shit was the fall of art as we like knew before that. The trend of good paintings coming out of the European market or other markets, that just went down, until they like the fashion industry is just like monopoly by a handful of people. Like if you go search any fashion designer from any major brand, you're gonna find they have connections with other major like designers from other companies. They're like relatives. So that thing like just shows the lack of meritocracy, because if a system is meritocratic, there is going to be a lot of diversity, because every like set of people would get the opportunity to apply, and there being a lot of people, there are a lot of designers, very good designers. So if a certain like family or connected relatives are operating the whole industry, then something's wrong, right? So art is just fucked. Art industry is beyond corrupted. Just like Hollywood, so many directors, all of them are friends with each other. So many actors and actresses, and everyone is friends with another. That just shows you the corruption. There was a lack of meritocracy and a like cesspool of nepotism. That's what that shows. With that being said, I hope you understand, right? I'm saying this phrase a lot. I hope you understand. But now we're going to strike the biggest blow to this, weak ass argument, which is the AI. AI in itself is a very big topic to discuss about, but in this context, AI is basically immobilizing our expression. We have five senses, right? We have touch, we have our hearing, vision, a lot of it, like our taste, our smelling abilities. So when we draw, we use our sensory, meaning our perception, our eyes, our ear, our nose. We literally, like, you perhaps can ask, like, how are we using our nose? Well, if you're drawing a scene where like you're sitting beside like a beautiful flower, perhaps that flower is so beautiful to you because it smells so good, or it looked so good. So it has to do with a lot of your sensors, your organs. So, a lot of people came out of depression by drawing, expressing themselves on the canvas. So our culture is moving to this point or this direction where we're becoming less and less self-reliantly expressive, and we're depending on AI to generate our imaginations, what people are doing with Midjourney, DALL-E, all the generative AI models. Now, the case I wanted to make for AI was that AI is like an anime superpower. If you have seen anime like Naruto, Bleach, I made a really harsh video on Bleach, please forgive me. But in any case, so in those animes, or any cartoon for that matter, like where every citizen of that land, for example in Naruto, every person in Konoha, in that Naruto village, can use chakra magic, okay? But guess what? A handful of people are the leaders and they can use the most of the magic. Like they can literally kill everyone else. They're so powerful. And AI is just like that. The fucking like tiny freaking GPT that you have in your phone is literally that common people level sorcery magic powers, you know. But the AI that CIA has, or the Mossad has, or Israel has, far exceeds your imagination, dude. And that's the problem. Like, what are we endorsing? What are we creating? Okay? Like, if the government comes up with this magic pill that grants you a little bit of magic power, you should perhaps ask, man, you were handing us these magic pills. So answer this question. Like, what fucking godly amount of magic pills have you guys consumed? Like, you have to. Like, if you're giving this power for free to people for them to use, then there has to be this case where you have the ultimate authority in that. You have so much magic power that you don't care if people have a little bit of it. So people don't think about it. AI, no matter how beautiful it is, I really admire people like watching their imagination come to life. It makes them really happy. It does that dopamine secretion thing. But at the same time, I see the horrifying aspect of it. People are selling themselves short, really short and cheap when they do use AI. You know, AI is just a personal genie, you know, Aladdin's genie. You can wish anything to it, any information, any imagination. And it's just a matter of time before you have this Neuralink brain chip in your brain. And you're gonna say, well, simulate Bahamas Island on the summer, breezy environment, you know, 10 out of 10, blah, 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 generate it. And all of a sudden, you're there, virtually. AI will do that, I think. The way it is progressing, it's gonna happen, you know. Like Neuralink used to be, Elon Musk's Neuralink used to be a conspiracy. People didn't used to believe that it is possible to create something like that, but it's a walking reality now. People used to doubt that robots were going to be able to be used in wars. They're now being used in wars. Drones. People didn't fucking believe that drones were going to be this big of a threat. Now look at India-Pakistan war or Israel-Palestine, America-Iran war. Everyone is using drones, right? So it's just a matter of time, no matter how hard it is to believe. But AI, this magic genie that you have on your hand, is eventually going to get into your head, and eventually it's going to just take over you and use you as like a vessel. It's just a parasitic like control. And the horrifying thing about it is that the Aladdin's genie was kind of alive and had its moral compass, way of thinking, that shit. But GPT is not really alive. It's like an enhancement pill. It's like a it's like a zombie, you know. It's like an entity that can do a lot of things, but it really doesn't feel what it does. It doesn't really understand what it's doing. It's just doing the correct thing, okay? Like my friend really described it to me really nicely. He said GPT and all of these generative AI models are like really good calculators. They're calculating what you want really nicely. They have the data to do that calculation, okay? And that's true. Like when GPT says it's so inappropriate, I'm like humiliated, or you're using humiliating language, you're violating our whatever blah blah violation. So the main point about AI here, what I'm really trying to make is that it's not your personal genie, and that's the problem. If it was independent of a corporation, an overlord, an overwatcher, if it was just your personal thing, for example, the DeepSeek AI that was recently released, the open source thing that you can literally download on your PC or computer and shit, like, that's good. AI, if it was like that, then there would have been no problem. But in this case, the AI that we have, and more we are having, it's operated by someone, and it's really not independent. It's really not an independent thinker. It's a tool, a machine. So this illusion of there being these countless genies on everyone's phones, giving them whatever they want, that's a falsehood. That's a false narrative. And there are many studies now like showing how less and less useful people's brains are becoming since they're using GPT. Like, they're not doing proper thinking. And that's a problem, isn't it? Huge problem. And we have to deal with it. We have to recognize as it is. And it all links up with the beginning thing that I described. Like, government is really corrupt. Like, just give me an example of a government anywhere in the world which unanimously the people who are ruled by the government from their heart, majority says that our country is best. Like, it has a real government, its services care for us. Like, but I don't even know how to argue about this, Like, perhaps there is some Scandinavian, European white fucking country that can say it, but then their government is like actually running plantations in Africa. For example, France. Like, France literally had the motherfucking French Revolution. At the same time, they had colonies in fucking Africa, killing black people, making them slaves. The irony is just, the next level. So when it comes to using AI to express ourselves, it's like, don't do it. You're just immobilizing yourself, Like, I think there's a fine line between using AI and not using AI. Like, if you totally not use it, you're just a moron. But if you overuse it, you're also a moron, okay? So it's like a bell curve. The bell curve of AI. I've got the next title for my video. Thanks for watching.